Yo guys, it's been a minute. Welcome back to Project Xena Devlog, now known as Veilborne. Actually, it's been over a year and a half since my last devlog, and 6 months since I last worked on the game. And honestly, a lot has changed since then. I spent that time trying to figure out what the game actually is, from the abilities to the systems to how everything fits together. So in the video, I want to show you what I've been working on, what went wrong, and what I'm doing next. And the best place to start is with my main character. Yeah, it's a rabbit. Before this, I was just using the default Unreal mannequin, so it's nice to finally have something that actually feels like it's part of the game. I decided early on that I didn't want to make the character myself. I wanted to focus more on building the mechanics of the game. So I went over to Fiverr and started working with a few artists. And yeah, it took a bit longer than I expected. The first design wasn't quite the design I was going for. I had some problems with the rig, and I think that took over 2-3 months. The second one got closer, but it still didn't feel right for the game I was trying to make. I actually took working with 3 different artists before I had landed on something I was happy with. What I learned from the process is you really have to communicate clearly. You can't just give vague ideas, expect the perfect results. You need references, direction, a bit of back and forth to actually get what you have in your head. The style I was aiming for was something cartoony and stylized, but not too cute or overly childish. And I think this hits the balance pretty well. So with the character finally in place, I started working on the level. In my last devlog, I said I wanted to start adding art assets and get the level into a more complete state. And I did that, but only for the first level. And here it is.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Yeah, this doesn't look great at all. It feels really boxy, flat, and just kind of unnatural. This was my first time properly working with art assets in a level, so a lot of it was just me trying to figure things out as I went along, getting that workflow. I did learn some useful things though, like vertex painting to blend materials and using splines to build things like fences. And I was kind of guessing what the rest of the gameplay would look like, so I was trying to build a level around that, and it made it really hard to commit to anything. Around that time, I came across a video from Indie Game Clinic talking about how important it is to really flush out your mechanics before diving too deep into your level design. And it kind of clicked. So instead of forcing the level design to work, I went back and started expanding the player's abilities. The first big one I added was a grappling hook. This let the player pulls himself towards certain objects, which immediately made movement a lot more dynamic. But not just for traversal, you can also use it on enemies and pull them towards you, which opens up a lot of possibilities for combat. Things like different enemy weights, types, or even upgrades will change how the grapple behaves. The second ability I added was borrowing. This lets the player go underground, making them undetectable and immune to anything happening above the ground. I felt like this fit the rapid theme so well. It does constantly drain mana, and you can only borrow through certain types of terrains, so there's still some limitation on how to use it. Having both of these abilities alongside the basic arrow projectile made the player feel a lot more interesting to control. But even with all of that, it still didn't really feel like a game. And the feedback I got from my friends felt like that too. So I started working on systems around the player, mainly the passives and shop. The idea behind the passive is that they're based on animal body parts that the player can collect and equip at any time. Each one changes how the player behaves in some way. But I didn't just want these to be simple stat boosts, so I tried to make them a bit more interesting and fun. For example, one of them makes it so every 4th hit does a mini explosion near the player. But if you take damage, the counter resets, so it encourages more playstyles. You can get these passive items from the chest, enemies, or by buying them in the shops. Enemies now drop gold too, which you can spend on different types of items. And the plan is for the shop to have a mix of things like passives, abilities, and eventually consumables. One thing that came up while building this was that my systems weren't really set up to be in a shop. My abilities and passive were completely separate, which made it awkward to handle them in something like a shop. So I ended up refactoring everything into a more unified item system using data assets, where everything is basically treated as an item. I won't go too deep into it here, but it made things a lot more flexible going forward. As you can see, I spent some time designing the UI for the passive systems, trying to make it feel a bit more thought out and structured. The shop UI, however, not so much. With a lot more UI widgets, things started to get a bit messy. So I took some inspiration from the Lyra sample project in Unreal and started using the common UI to restructure things. Now I have one main widget where it holds a stack of UI widgets that I can push and pop from, which makes managing menus a lot cleaner. It's not something that the player will directly notice, but it makes a big difference on the development side. So with that in place, I went back to improving the level design. This time, instead of building large open levels, I started breaking things down into smaller room-like areas. Each room has a clearer purpose, and it's easier to control what the player's experience is going to be like in the room. I also focused on more elevation and shape to avoid everything feeling a bit flat and boxy like before. Alongside that, I've been adding more content like new enemies, more interactions with the environment, and even some hidden secrets for the player to discover. So yeah, that's where the game is right now. There's still a lot to improve, but I'm really happy with how it's coming together. It actually feels like a game now. Like I said, I haven't worked on it for about 6-7 months, so I'm looking forward to jumping back in and starting to add more content. If you made it this far, I appreciate you watching, and hopefully the next update won't take another year and a half. Let me know what you think. I'd love to get a demo out there for you guys to try. And if you want me to get a bit deeper into the technical side or anything else, just let me know. Thanks for watching.